Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, where I'm excited to introduce to you the proud owner of not one, but two barracks more than halfway across the map. It is the Admiral, GuMiho, facing off against the #1 player in the world, ranked by Dark. It's the final boss. It's Dark, or, since the birth of his new Zergling, Daddy Dark, if you prefer. I won't disclose my preferences, but I will point out that we have very limited time to beg you for likes and subscribes. And Jimmy, quickly, at a 1,294 likes on this series, on this cast, on this finals, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. And, well, here we go. The drones are pulled off the line 2 minutes in. We're on post-youth, and neither of these players are particularly young. But a spry reaction out of Dark. Gonna lose 1 drone. The bunker is not quite done. He's jammed in, gets 3 into it. The drones are caught on the wrong side of history. SCV, citizen's arrest, some revenge there. Gonna cut off the Marines on the way out. The drones out for blood, and they want more. Whatever they can do in order to deal with these Marines. There's Zerglings on the way. Wait, no, I take it back. Their Zergling's already out. They got past the... Okay, so the drones are out of the map. He's looking for the Marines. This is post-youth. He could go through the mineral wall with the drones, potentially. Does he have enough drones? Yes. Wait, that's 20 minerals. This is the most ridiculous scenario for this exact... Well, you have to mine it 1 at a time. All right. 1 at a time. Queue up. That's 3. He's gonna go for 4, but, well, he doesn't get through the mineral wall. He's gonna get away with the minerals. There's no getting him back. 2 drones down. GuMiho's doing the same thing. Does he even have enough? Both sides are working on it. You know, it's great to see collaboration in this time of great strife here, as the workers just want to mine the minerals, while everybody else is, well, having a more heated conversation. So there's still 4 drones out on the map. The bunker is holding the bottom of the ramp, also demonstrating why we have these unbuildable plates. Literally what they're called. Because otherwise you could potentially wall these off with 2 bunkers. So for those of you wondering why those show up on maps, this is probably the most obvious. But he escapes! He gets back in. About half the drones made it home. And... well, the Overlord is still hanging out over here. GuMiho never killed it. This opens up another opportunity, but the Queens are on the top of the ramp. There's enough Zerglings here. 16 more lings on the way. There's no speed, but oh my god, where did all these Marines come from? Brenda, call everyone! The Marines have been continually producing. I don't know if there are enough Zerglings. Dark is producing them now, but one of the Queens transfuse is absolutely huge here. Every second counts as the Marines are grinding their way through. The drones have to be pulled yet again. The SCVs went down at the front of it. The Queens may be able to finish off the rest of these Marines, and I think Dark has held. But at what cost? There is Zergling speed on the way. There are 2 factories for GuMiho behind this. He does have a command center, and he's got the mixed gold base. So Dark actually has 29 to 26 workers here. He's got the Queens. He's got the creep spread coming down. The bunker has been either salvaged or dealt with. It was taken out. As was that Overlord, which actually supply blocks Dark. So at 5 minutes into the game, we have GuMiho switching to mech. There's a mineral wall with 5 minerals left in it here. Which, if Dark is willing to send just 1 more drone out, he can finish what he started. Oh, he's thinking about taking a 3rd. I think 1, anticipating this being scouted by the barracks, which is just like a faster and more HP Overlord. Not to make him feel inferior, but... the Queens are gonna try to shut it down. 6 Queens together.
All right, you can't miss this one, Terran. I know it's been tough. Hey, you know, there's no reason to be mean, Brenda. Okay, I know the stress levels are high. I know.
Sorry. The barracks is gonna go down, but the Queens are actually out of position. Drawn away by the barracks, and the Marines just walk up. He may be able to cancel it. We're not done. The Marine rush has not yet ended. It was just on pause. And right now, the Queen's off a creep. Oh no, the barracks distraction. A Queen Magnet indeed. And Dark will have to expand to the more conventional base, while GuMiho goes double armory, mass factory hell clone. So we've already swerved. Meanwhile, the Zerglings looking to chase down the Marines. Dead even worker count. One of the most ridiculous starts. And even though I might not entirely enjoy playing on the new map pool, I will say this has created some very interesting games so far. And honestly, I have no idea who's ahead. Because now Dark has a gold base on the way. Yes, there's a half gold and then a full gold. So 1.5 gold bases per side. Obviously in a very vulnerable location down here. GuMiho does have his factories up. He's got 1-1 on the way. He's going to have the upgrades and an incredibly cost-effective unit composition. So I've decided. I think GuMiho has an advantageous position here. And it's going to be on Dark to figure out, well, exactly what's happening. I think those Marines committing again has given this away and inspired Dark to build a lot more in the way of roaches as opposed to leaning on the Zerglings. The Cyclones are going to be caught, jammed into the corner. The Hellions just run by. And once again, the drones will be under fire, and this time the most literal of all. The Blue Flame Hellions into the main, targeting down 7 drones, 9 of them. He's going to eventually clean it up, but oh no, it's a disaster for Dark. He caught the Cyclones, but the Hellions are the much greater threat here. So more, well, Dark bounces back. He has enough hatcheries and enough queens to inject them now. That he's able to build enough drones. It's so. And GuMiho is mining through the mineral wall and then walling off more conventionally on the top of the ramp. Can never be too careful, especially against Dark. But GuMiho now has 1-1 done. He's got 5 factories completed. The Industrial Revolution is in full swing for our mech Terran player. It took a while to get there. Infestation Pit is on the way. We've got a bunch of siege tanks at a time. That very well could be for swarm hosts. There's a Nidus. That infestation pit. Reaching for Hive is a long ways, but swarm hosts a bit lower hanging. And that Nidus definitely feels like he has some other intent than going up the tech tree. But Dark a bit supply block. 12 more roaches on the way. Gonna try something different here, because if he just lets GuMiho continue building up this mech army, Dark doesn't have the production, the tech, or the economy to fight it head on. But Dark, not always one to fight head on if he can avoid it. 5 swarm hosts. Ricky and his special operations squad here, the SOS team. Gonna take down the rocks that are blocking the watchtower, which GuMiho, I'm sure, is going to thank him for. There are 8 swarm hosts on the way. So Dark, I think these swarm hosts give him a real chance to get back into it. The first wave is going to be so important, as GuMiho does have enough army supply to be incredibly dangerous out on the map. But the swarm hosts are such a curveball here. Hurricane thrusters, or whatever we're calling it now, on the way. For some enough people were pedantic about the fact that Cyclones didn't have thrusters that apparently we changed the name. Not only do we change random stats with the Cyclone, but also the name of the upgrade, though it has the same effect of increasing the speed. Blue Flame Hellbat, but into the natural, the Locust will drop down. Only a single siege tank to contest them. The Locust can be targeted in the air, drops on top of the tank. Mediocre wave, but he does drag back so many units. And 40 Zerglings in production. Hellbat's dealt with. Roach is sharking around looking for an opportunity to get anything done. If he tries to chase down the Nidus, then the Roaches are there. If he doesn't chase down the Nidus, then the Swarm House Well, GuMiho now taking advantage. There's still the barracks overhead here. Siege tank will be dealt with. There's 3 Ravagers looking for an opportunity to snipe off a tank. That's the number. We got Factory 6, 7, and 8 on the way. The Swarm Host will be unleashed. The Locust not getting drawn into the clones. Gonna keep them in flight here. And on top of the Roach Ravager, well, on top of the tanks is the Roach Ravager. The Locust dropped down and GuMiho's 4th base is now solidly under attack. Wow. So the Swarm Hosts are keeping GuMiho at bay at the moment. Another Nidus. Jimmy, it's been a while since I want to feel like I'm there. I want to feel like that Nidus is inside my main base. Ultraless Cavern. As Dark has bought time and space to get up towards Hivtech, and in the rush distance, well, they're just staring across the street and throwing locusts at each other here. It is the shortest rush distance between the natural bases on the low ground of any map in the pool, despite the relatively protected main. Another wave of locusts dropping down, using the not-so-friendly fire from the siege tanks to take out the Cyclones. Waves of locusts continue to drop. And with Hivtech done, GuMiho is running out of options and running out of time. And I'm sure he knows that Dark is building up behind this. He feels the pressure, but he can't quite get enough supply, together with the Swarm Host continuing to bully him across the map. Oh, wait. Oh, the Locust can never get back inside. All right. Richard is able to lead the Swarm Host back in and catch the Cyclones out of position. The Ravagers, Corrosive Bow, not going to find the mark, but the Cyclones being cut down, trying to body block here for the tanks, but there's just not that many units. And Dark with the Roach Ravager is, well, the Queens are still keeping things intact. And GuMiho hasn't found any occasion to move out. He's been pushed back ever since the barracks. And now, Dark is the one on the attack exclusively. Locust dropping down. Onto the natural. Another tank taken out. 6 tanks so far. Dark continuing. He still has the army. The thing is, if GuMiho gets close to 200 supply, and you don't have an abundance of Vipers, if you don't have an overwhelming amount of things like Broodlords, this mech army is incredibly hard to beat. GuMiho right now doesn't want to risk a base trade, which the same principles of base trading a Terran don't really apply with the mech army, because it's so brittle and hard to replace. You really need it to be all together. So right now, GuMiho is trying to buy time, but the Locusts keep raining down. And on top of the siege tanks, gets a couple more. A Greater Spire is on the way, which is certainly the big timer here. And he just jumps on top of everything. Corrosive Bow lands across the board, but he jumps the army with the Cyclones, and hello, he's already at Dark's base. A handful of Zerglings over to the left side, but GuMiho begins the siege. 4 Ultras on the way. The Creep Tumors underneath the tank drawing some friendly fire, and as soon as GuMiho moves out, Dark's Zerglings somehow get in. They only have +1 melee. Does he have Adrenal Glands? Of course he does. 10 SCVs down. GuMiho takes out the gold base, which was already mostly mined out. Another wave of Locusts is impending. The Cyclones are there to intercept some of them. 4 siege tanks in a precarious position. The Cyclones try to deal with it. He unsieges the tanks. I think a smart move in this position. And the Locusts just kind of melt to the fully operational mech army here. The Swarm Hosts have to retreat. A lot of supply not in this fight right now, and Dark doesn't have a single Viper with which to blind most of the important units on the back line. GuMiho has held it together. He did not panic versus the Swarm Hosts. He's up against Ultras here, but Cyclone's not a bad counter to him, and Siege Tank's certainly doing pretty well with anything in front. The Ultras will just be obliterated by the Siege Tanks from range. The Swarm Hosts have another wave, and this one has to be good. as GuMiho is right now on his doorstep and battering down the door itself. And, well, the Cyclones grind through it. 8 more Ultras, Dark says. 8 more Ultras might be the answer. And, well, quantity has a quality all its own. But I don't know if the quality of these units will be quantity enough. 11 Cyclones at a time. Dark has money in the bank, but GuMiho's nearly maxed out with 3-3 mech. Not a single ghost anywhere close to the horizon right now. Some of the siege tanks, the queens, the hero-esque back at home. The transfuses. Stay with them, girls. Ultras flanking from either side, but who's flanking who? The Cyclones. Vulnerable to the Ultras, but they're not nearly as fragile as Marines in this scenario. GuMiho dropping in supply, trying to micro the tanks back, but 3 of them are cleaved in twain by the Ultras. And even more Swarm Hosts coming in. Swarm Host Ultralisk, the Locusts, and the Ultras, but the Cyclones are able to block out. The Planetary Fortress is helping. The Cyclones slowly grinding through, and I fear too slowly for the Admiral himself. As 5 more Ultras on the way, dropping down the mules. The Locusts will time out. Dark doesn't have a huge economy to fall back on. It's 61 workers apiece. Somehow this game has been nearly even throughout. Despite the chaotic start, it seems we're going to have a consistent end. And he burrows with the Ultra in order to dodge the lock-ons. Dark is dodging lock-ons with Burrow. It isn't particularly effective. He's gonna fight straight up against the Zerglings. The Ultra took the long way around. Hellions doing a pretty good job of buffering for the Ultras. The Cyclone sliding through the blades there. It seems like, oh, Thor! Triple teamed by the Ultras. Not a bad choice for the Ultra, but the Locusts are still going. The Swarm Host coming back down. The Ultras covering them. And the Locusts, it's too much. Dark overwhelms GuMiho despite the bunker in his house. He's able to drive him out. A third of his economy, the drones, had to go across the map. But Dark holds it together, and GuMiho doesn't find quite the killing blow in time. What a game to open things up. Dark playing in every tournament. I mean, now that we know he has a Zergling at home, a child at home to attend to, I hear their metabolics are heavily boosted. And so trying to bring home as many minerals as possible. And I'm very excited. Well, Dark was already playing in everything. But apparently the quality of the games is not going to be reduced. Despite maybe the free time, if he had any before, of Dark at the moment. Well, in case all of that was convoluted and confusing, not just the game, but the explanation, Dark recently had his first child. Which, you know, doesn't surprise me in the least. If he had said, I have 6 children, or I will never have any, I also would not have been surprised. You gotta expect the unexpected. But, maybe extra inspiration. GuMiho, with an incredibly creative build. That was all over the place. And you know what? That was some of the most confident Cyclone, because the Cyclone is tankier, but less DPS overall than it was in the previous patch. Still a much more spammable unit than it was about a year ago. And it seems like GuMiho has kind of worked with it significantly more than anyone else so far. I haven't seen anyone quite that confidently attacking into Ultras, and honestly it was kind of working, as the Ultras might be quite wide with their attack, but they can only hit maybe 4 or 5 Cyclones, which sounds like a lot, but when it comes to Marines, they just can't stand up at all, whereas the Cyclones can tank a few hits. So very interesting start. But Dark powers through. He's allowed to survive. It feels like the Swarm Host just kept getting the damage. The Swarm Hosts were still alive at the end. So many times we see the Swarm Hosts at some point just thrown away. But Dark holds on to them and keeps gaining value. There were a few moments where that mech army with +3 siege tanks looked like it would certainly get the killing blow. As he's sitting outside that 3rd, 4th base, but Dark's like, how about 8 more Ultras? Which, if it was anyone else... Banshee on the way. No barracks on the other side of the map this time around. Cloak in production. Roach one. Roach one quite early. Not necessarily for some sort of all-in, but definitely leaning on it. We'll see if GuMiho decides on the mech route yet again. He just runs by. He just runs by. What the hell? Is this what we're doing? Okay. 3, 4. I mean, he doesn't have speed, so that's what GuMiho's relying on here, is the lack of Zergling speed. Gets out with a Heli and a Reaper. 4 drones. Not great, not terrible. If he could get a few more, that would definitely... So, even though you kill those drones at a key timing, you give up so much map control. You give up the ability to even really pretend to slow down the creep spread. 1 or 2 Hellions, a single Queen will easily push them away. So, you need to... It's not just about the drone kills. Wow. Speaking of, though, the cloak comes through. Dark late on his spore crawlers, or, well, this is actually a particularly early cloak as well. And the drones are pushed away out of the Banshees into the fire. But the Hellions don't actually get the line up there. This cloak Banshee's still going to work throughout it. So that's an awkward one. There's oh, here we go again. The roaches are on the way across the map. And, oh. Well, loses a Banshee. This could end quite abruptly here, as Dark just goes with the punch him in the face strategy as a counter to these fancy plays out of GuMiho. Not gonna bother trying to go up the ramp. Killed 10 SCVs so far, which is not game-ending damage at all. This, another early game where both of them will be doing dramatic damage to each other. But it looks like it's going to even out, as Dark is able to re-secure his bases because GuMiho had to bring everything back. He actually killed one of the Banshees, too. But GuMiho does have 3 CCs. He even built his 3rd command center on location. It was a later 3rd CC, so he could get the Cloak Banshee out quicker. And it's going to be mech, yet again. Oh, down goes a Banshee. Wait, another one? He lost 2 now, and he's going Hyper Shees. So that's a pretty big blunder, considering the unit composition it looks like GuMiho is trending towards, which is the Banshee Cyclone. One of the most mobile and high damage compositions that you can build as Terran, especially mech-oriented. But losing 2 out of 3 early Banshees certainly takes a lot of the punch out of it. Meanwhile, though, Dark building a Spire. It could be for Mutas, though Corruptors might actually be on the, at least in the cards here. As if he recognizes this is going to be that mass Banshee style, well, Corruptors can just sweep them out of the skies. The thing is, Speed Banshees, the only unit that could catch them are the Mutas. They're actually faster than Corruptors. You can zone them out, but... Queens.
Not again! He just keeps building Banshees! Okay, Susan, okay. We're building a Spire. More like Banshees! Okay. That was a good one. Fine, you done? For now.
Spire is done. 5 Mutas on the way. And Dark gonna meet him head on, with an option to transition from just killing the Banshees all the way into actually doing damage. Engineering Bay is in production. Did he spot the Spire? He's anticipating it. That Engineering Bay had quite a clear timing here. anticipating the mutas. So here we go again. Another game that I want to lean towards a good position here for GuMiho, as he's got everything set up, but the problem is, any amount of mutas are about to show up. He doesn't have any turrets, so this is gonna get weird. The mutas aren't gonna kill too many SCVs, but there's only 2 Cyclones, which is not enough to deal with this. Never mind, I take it back. Dark's definitely in a great spot here. Wait, no, I don't want to commit to anything. There's SCVs all the way across the map. The Cyclones will be able to take down a muta. 13 SCVs. There's a Nidus there. He cloaks. 15 SCVs dead. That's terrible, terrible damage. The Queens back at home will be able to deflect the Banshees. Dark doesn't have a huge economy here. 66 drones. The mark of the Dark there. 9 swarm hosts on the way. Just another casual swarm host game. He's up against mech. Makes a lot more sense as the Marines are able to, with a bio-army, Marines are much more capable of taking down the Locusts efficiently and quickly. The thing is, the mech army is just immobile, and it is kind of based on a long-term attack, which the swarm host can undercut with their wave-based Locusts. No longer the permanent fixture they once were in Heart of the Swarm Host, but instead a much more, a riskier, but potentially higher reward investment when used very well, like Dark has a tendency to do. But the timing and the choice is pretty niche. And it seems like we're running up against it here. The Locust will drop down. The Cyclones force the triggering of the swoop there. You actually can't stop them from swooping. And yes, that's the turn. They swoop. They're swoop. Don't make it weird. 12 SCVs, 13 SCVs. So much damage done. But if you're directly underneath them, they literally can't stop the Locusts from swooping down on those units. So triggering that immediately can help mitigate the potential damage, as not so many Locusts will fly into your natural. But apparently he's going to get 13 SCVs anyway. Dark has a hive on the way. Nidus is dead on arrival. Hydra is dead. Another Nidus. What are the upgrades? Those Zerglings do not have speed. Dark realizes. Toddling around out there. It's a lot of Zerglings for someone who didn't get Zergling speed yet. One of those games where Adrenal Glands is queued up after Zergling speed because it's been such a weird mid-game. The Zergling's good for covering for the Roaches against the Cyclone. So the Banshees can't hit the Locusts. Neither can the Locusts hit the Banshees. Air to ground, one way or another. He's actually just giving up this base. GuMiho has 26 Cyclones and 6 Banshees, and that is his army. There's Banshee Cyclone, the Hyper Shees, alongside the Speed Clones. I have no idea. The Queen's trying to hold. The Roaches closing in. The sheer mass of these mechanical units. The Mutas are coming back. He actually targeted the Nidus, trying to close down the network for good. Just, oh my god, everything just dying to the Cyclone pods. I have this Locust coming out. He's targeting the Swarm Host with the Banshees. The Muta's chasing the Banshees, whereas the Cyclones avoid the Locust. The Roach is going to try to help out. Cyclones to the north. Muta's chasing down the Banshees to the south. The Cyclones are going to win this fight, I think. He has 2-2 done. Upgrade's a pretty big deal for the clones. And suddenly Dark, he's building 16 more Roaches. He's actually supply blocked. He lost so many Overlords in that fight. And I think GuMiho has enough. Especially considering he's got 71 SCVs at home. A lot of Dark supply is still in those Swarm Hosts, the ones that survived. And the Cyclones are just kind of stutter-stepping and locking their way on as they slowly retreat. 2-2 is about to complete. Dark is not dead, but he's a lot closer to it than he was just a couple minutes ago. One Banshee survived, or maybe more Banshees. This one just decided to go do its own thing. All right. The Yoko Ono of Banshees. All right. Speaking of beetles, more Locusts dropping down. Banshee's still just screaming over here. The drones? Oh, Corruptor pops out. The Overseers. Yeah, that's the one. That's the guy right there.
I think technically it's a girl. Bartholomew, why are you like this?
Infestors are out. Fungal hits the mark. Second Fungal before the Banshees get it. Best case scenario, and Dark closes it. He's going to be able to get the clones. But is there anything? The Banshees are still raining down. There's so much DPS. Yeah, sure, let's bring some Hydras into the mix. Swarm Host, more Infestors. The Swarm Hosts themselves eating some hits. Locusts raining down. Hydra's getting involved. A couple Hydras and a Corruptor are enough. This is like a micro-tournament match. They're just kind of building units and throwing them at each other, and it's like Uberina, which is an arcade game you should try check out if you haven't yet. They're just in so many different units, in so many different ways. The Infestors here are able to lock things down, but the Cyclones are still so tanky, and the Banshees have survived. Well, things are slowing down a bit. The Swarm Hosts are still working, but they've been cut down in number. The Banshees clearing up the creep. Oh, he's almost out of energy on one of these. Another Overseer on the way. GuMiho has 86 SCVs. Burrows the Roaches. How many orbitals? Enough. What is going on? Why is there creep over here? There's just still a spot of creep that survived. I don't know if that's from a Nidus or he just didn't clear it. The Locusts get a little distracted. More Banshees popping up. He's got a Raven on the way. Sure. We haven't hit that one on the bingo card yet. Meanwhile, the Infestors, the Banshees though, gonna be caught. Will catch and or be caught by the Infestors. Well, Well, it seems like this fight is more one-sided than a Mobius Strip right now, as the Cyclone's just kind of winning. Well, because there's a bunch of Roach Hydra on the other side. Though, I don't know if Dark can put together enough. GuMiho still has 1,800 minerals in the bank. So, well, Dark actually won the fight. There's still some siege tanks and so many Cyclones. GuMiho takes game 2 in another topsy-turvy experience. This time, the Terran comes out on top. Well, I have no idea what's going on. These are some of the most dynamic and dramatic and confusing games I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of games. Almost half of them with Dark. But GuMiho, with his mixed mech options, against Dark's Swarm Host with whatever on the side, so far, evened out. I'm honestly surprised to see this next map as game number 3. Dynasty. Dark is going... So, I need to explain that, as we have the wall-off gold base, which we've seen used to great effect against Zergs who've attempted this exact strategy before. It is going 3 hatch with no gas. GuMiho is building a Reaper. It is not doing anything else that will completely negate this base. And this is the 3rd hatch, not the natural, so he's not going to have any drones down there for a little bit. Needs the queens to tend to the front. I guess the front is the minerals, so in this case, just the minerals. the Zerglings. Reaper almost dies, and without the Reaper, it gets a lot easier for Dark to hold on to this. I'm sorry, my brain is scrambled after those 2 games, and we're not even close to done yet. I mean, with these 2, it could be 5 more minutes before the series is over. So, don't spoil yourself. And if you already did, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a convoluted process, but hopefully you enjoy. I like to offer something a little different. Like, there are plenty, I think, of casters, commentators out there, live or otherwise, who can offer you some play-by-play and keep track of the game. But I like to offer a little more, well, I enjoy watching good games with the fans, let's put it that way. And thank you for watching. But, oh my god, that's disgusting. I do editorialize on occasion. Please forgive. But don't forget. 2 drones now. And at what point do we ask ourselves the question, how much is too much? Was it ever worth it? Like, if you can't mine with multiple drones, and you lose multiple drones, is it even worth it to take the gold as a Zerg here? As the Overmind did not see fit to give you any sort of really ranged unit you can use in this scenario. The Queens, clearly not enough. But the Roaches, well, they'll be able to at least zone out. Here comes Dark. Here we go again. A lair is on the way. Conspicuously so. Alright. A lair this early. Well, partially for detection against things like Banshees. But I also think if there isn't a Banshee, or even if there is, still some aggressive potential. The Roaches giving the SCVs a taste of their own medicine. Well, wasn't the SCV's fault, but, you know, he'll take what he can get. Couple Evo chambers on the way. By the way, GuMiho for the first time heading towards the Marine base composition. I'm not counting game 1. That was different. Oh my god. Yeah, that was a bit of a different one. That was a Marine base composition, but not the whole time. A single Roach will politely yet firmly ask the Hellions and Reaper to leave, and they say sure after we kill every drone you leave in range. Meanwhile, the other Roaches have forced the evacuation of the SCVs, so GuMiho is unable to mine from the gold. So both sides in an awkward spot here. I actually think Dark, with all these Roaches in production, GuMiho kind of relying on that gold base. And it's not coming through for him at the moment. A whole bunch of Marines are coming across the map, but Dark has been building Roaches for quite a while. As long as he doesn't get caught chasing down these Hellions halfway across the map. And he should be okay. The problem is, oh my god. They actually got it. He just ran by. He doubled back behind the alternative third base minerals. And now Dark is completely out of position to deal with this bio. So the Hellions, the real heroes here, making all the difference. And there's still a Roach over. The Roach is picking off SCVs. Down go a couple Overlords. And it seems like we're destined. It doesn't matter the unit composition. We're just going to have a disjointed, dysfunctional, and decidedly great set of engagements across the map. Oh, he's just going to drop. He's dropping the base like Skrillex here. The Roaches are on the wrong side of history. The drones were pulled to fight. I don't know, Kev. Well, hey, well, the Marines are gunning down a bunch of Overlords. They got 14 drones. Dark is down 17 workers. He's denying the gold base still, but the roaches are just running around in circles. Unfortunately, that doesn't give them the ability to fly or burrow under the mineral patches, which is the real issue here right now for Dark, who also has infestors with burrow on the way. There are 36 roaches on the map, but the army supply for GuMiho is doing pretty well for itself at the moment. Finally, a siege tank. All right, roach scampers away. Still maintains some sort of threat there. But oh my god. Okay, 2-2. Dark is in a precarious position, economically and with his unit composition. It's just not great. Like, a bunch of roaches and a couple infestors. He's praying those infestors find the hits. But even then, GuMiho still has 66 SCVs and counting. He's got 2-2 on the way. And 3-3 is going to be easy enough with this sort of economy. So even if Dark is able to win a decisive engagement, it's going to be very hard for him to carry that through to an immediate counterattack and victory. It's going to be an arduous process, whereas GuMiho is one good fight away from winning the game. He has the army supply, he has the unit composition, and he has the position on the map. And he flies into... wow. If that had been 3 instead of 1 corrosive bow, Dark would have killed like 5 medevacs, which is ridiculous. And the kind of thing that somehow seems to happen more often than not in Dark's games. The mind trick. This is an anti-timing right here for Dark, though. If he fights right now, he's fighting GuMiho at 2-2. He's trying to fight. He whips out a corrosive bile. Some fungals as well. Takes out the medevacs. Just 2. Another infestor trying to get in range. The infestor got a range buff with the fungal in the last patch. But that doesn't make it enough damage to kill the Marines easily. And the Roach Ravager, GuMiho knows the advantage he has. Honestly, not going as well for him as I thought it would. As he's dodging all these vials, but it is going well. The fungal comes out, doesn't find anything. Corrosive bile does not find the mark. The Ravagers are not enough. Another fungal comes through. Some unlucky Marines caught in front. And Dark is not dying. He's finished 2-2, or +2 attack, and +2 carapace is on the way. GuMiho is kind of stumbling at the goal line here. But he is at the goal line, and he's still falling forward. GuMiho, he just burrowed all of his roaches, or just those roaches? Either way. Dark loses a base. There's still a tank back at home. And now the gold base is vulnerable as Dark desperately tries to drive back the bio. It's not going to be enough. There's so many Marines in production. What a series. These two. Somehow distinctly different than Dark versus Beyond. Which is still a hectic series. But GuMiho has this... he's clearly a strategic as opposed to a tactical player. Like Beyond says, today I'm building Marines and a few medevacs. Whereas GuMiho has a whole kind of both unit composition and game plan, short and long term, planned out. And his micro is acceptable, but that's not where we get the highlight composition or compilations from. Dark is just... oh my god, he's gonna land the fungals, but the siege tanks... 16 SCVs died, which... I believe the roaches got in. Unless GuMiho killed his own SCVs, which would make it weird he's rebuilding them, so I don't think so. This is a very long death animation from Dark. Which, if it takes long enough, he may actually rise from the grave, but... there's just so much bio. It's 3-3. He can out-heal the fungals. He got a fusion core for Caduceus Reactor for the energy regen on the medevacs. And the Terran army is just far too much. How many times? How many different ways can I say it? Alright. Well, roaches living up to their names. The bio ball is still rolling, though it's come to a temporary halt. Dark is supply blocked at 140, which is certainly not ideal. Loses another Obi. Never surrender! Well, here comes the Roach Ravager down the ramp, but the siege tank spread. I can't believe it's not butter. He's microwave siege tanks in and out of the medevac. Like, GuMiho is actually no. I stand by my initial tone of all right, Dark. He's making a game of it, but it's been a downhill spiral for quite a bit now. And GuMiho takes another one, put him on match point. Despite Dark's efforts there. Well, a solid game from GuMiho, taking full advantage of the map. Like I said, I'm kind of surprised Dark let it through the veto process. There are a lot of maps to veto as a Zerg in the current pool. And, well, we'll have to see. Oceanborn will be our next one. I'm not sure what that leaves for map 5. If we get there, of course. But GuMiho with a command center. Jimmy! Sorry. Like and subscribe so I can find real help. Yeah, command center first is the choice. GuMiho with a 2-1 lead. Dark, certainly make it interesting. Has been one of the most, widest range of unit compositions. And maybe not quite unit compositions, but it's just all over the place. So, will history repeat itself, by the way? Last, I want to say week, maybe 2 weeks? I don't know. We got, well, it's not Game 5, believe it or not, but in Game 5, on this map, in a hard-fought series between these two, I'm going to spoil it, GuMiho, for the first time in the series, whipped out the Battlecruisers. And not just like a Battlecruiser rush, but instead hit a switch to 6 Battlecruisers like they were carriers in Protoss versus Zerg. And managed to get the momentum to turn the game in his favor and take the series. It feels like Dark actually has a bit of a weak spot with players like GuMiho. Now I'm thinking about it, it's like Hero as well. Hero is not the mechanically best player out there. I think MaxPax takes the crown on that right now for Protoss especially. But someone who can match Dark in that sort of chaos decision making, in someone who will jump in the mud and roll around with him. I did like that reference. Well, that's when things get dangerous for the final boss. I think he's just so good at absolutely dismantling your standard player. He knows you might not be able to beat them in a straight up boxing match, but when you take the gloves off and you put the butter on, well, 9 months later you end up with a Zergling. So. One more time. Jimmy, do we have that up there? Because I can't stop laughing at it every time. We didn't bring it up earlier because I can't handle it. Ah, yes. Congratulations again, Dark. Well, speaking of spawning pools, Dark has finished Zergling speed, going for Banelings now. But he's up against Mech. Does he know that? No. GuMiho just did a swerve directly into McDonald's here. It's gonna be an absolute drive-through composition. Nope. Wait, no. Is this... This is GuMiho's signature build, I think. The Thor hammer. Please tell me you're doing it. Just Yes! The Thor drop! Where the double Thor drop, this initially, or at least in the modern history of SC2, this is the mech build that GuMiho pioneered. The one that, kind of like Beyond's Marine. So GuMiho has 2 medevacs with Thors, Beyond has 2 medevacs full of Marines. Those are their signature builds. And besides the Battlecruisers, this is GuMiho's absolute signature here. The hammer drop. So we'll see. The Queen... Brenda!
What? Is this a convention? Why not?
So many things. Dark has 78 drones in 6.5 minutes. Which might be a bit greedy. We'll see. He's got 5 overlords. Oh no, he's supply block. He's got 6 overlords on the way, and the number keeps going up because he's panicking a little. As clearly you need some units at this stage, but the hammer is about to drop. The banelings are on the way. Viking hits the deck, but the Thors are dropped home. And GuMiho is pounding his way through the queens. The banelings aren't remotely close to enough. And GuMiho. Oh no, it's a disaster for Dark. But a crowning moment for GuMiho. He can't get enough units together. He's in between the 2 of the bases on either side. Dark is not going to be able to bring enough units to bear at one time to deal with this. And even if it gets bad, he can just pick up and get out. So he lost... Okay, well, he lost the Banshee, and now he's going to lose a medevac to the Spore. So the Thors may actually die. So I may have oversold this a bit. As without any sort of extraction here, GuMiho is going to end up losing the Thors and not actually doing that much economic damage. I was a little bit biased, I'll admit to that, in the casting here, as I really thought GuMiho would just power through. But Dark holds it together. It costs him every single queen. He's down to 0, which I don't think he's going to embrace democracy here. We're going to go back to the swarm hosts, sure. Only 4 swarm hosts on the way, though. And without the queens, the larva is going to be problematic. He still has enough drones in order to put together a solid army. GuMiho, another key point of this, is GuMiho had so much infrastructure already. He already had 2 armories, spun up and good to go. He had 1 done. He's working on 2 too. Whereas Dark is kind of scrambling to rebuild. So even though they kind of traded evenly on the field, GuMiho is still humming along when it comes to the manufacturing. Whereas Dark has to get his queens back, his larva, his creep spread is almost on standby right now. His tech was behind already, but here come 4 swarm hosts. Sir Richard and his special operations squad are back again. Only 4. They gotta pull the weight of 20. And the Locust dropped down, gonna kill some of the SCVs to start. GuMiho has a Raven. Very diligent. A Roachling. The Thors are such a strong part of the composition, especially considering Dark doesn't have any Infestors. He doesn't have any Vipers. Hive just started. Hurricane Engines, is that what we're calling it? Sure, whatever. All right. Banshee. A Roachling trying to come in. The Banshee gonna help zone out. Banshee is just such a great tool. I think GuMiho uses these units that most Terrans kind of discard later in the game. Obviously, he's going mech, so he has a lot more opportunity to just build Banshees and Ravens because he has that Tech Lab starport, but... Alright. So GuMiho's already starting +3. He's got 2-2 done. That +2 on the siege tanks is absolutely devastating. Oh my god, he's obliterating the roaches. He'll lose a couple siege tanks. I don't know if Dark realized he was up against that +2. The swarm hosts pop out. Hey, oh my god, they're all dead. The locusts, and they pops right back into the Nidus. But I think the best case scenario here for Dark is going to be to borrow some of those Thors, as they're looking so strong right now. He doesn't have any Infestors, though. He doesn't have any Vipers. He's building a dozen Ravagers. +2 melee, some Banelings. But GuMiho has 2/2. He's filling in Cyclones. I mean, this is what we're trying to do, I guess, is make the Cyclones kind of a mech marine. And he's filling them in pretty much that exact role. As a multi-purpose, just solid filler option. For the mech army. Alright. The Locust Wave. Gonna be slowed down. He's in high impact mode. I think it's still better against the Locust because you're guaranteed to kill them as opposed to doing some splash damage. It is definitely better against, like, Vipers. Ultralisk Tavern is halfway done. Good. Dark has survived, which is always dangerous. I think GuMiho doesn't realize the position he's in, or at least isn't particularly willing to press the issue. Which is giving Dark time. That's a dangerous thing. Yeah, Dark with Adrenal Glands halfway done. Burrow on the way. No Infestors out yet. No Neural Parasite. But if we get a couple minutes further, that's definitely on the agenda. The Zerglings. Adrenal Glands on the way. Okay. All right. GuMiho slaps down a fusion core and 3 more. Not yet. But it kind of feels like... Is he really going to do it? Because it feels like he's just sitting back and waiting for the opportunity to build. Did I mention? Fusion Core! GuMiho! I don't think he underestimates his position. He knows what he's about. And he's about to be the most entertaining Terran. As GuMiho slaps down the Fusion Core in a commanding position here. And it looks like he wants to repeat history and potentially close this game out with Battlecruisers. There are no Infestors here. Anti-armor missile. The Cyclones. So the awkward part about Cyclones against Ravagers as well is you can only hit like 2 or 3 of them. And it takes more than 2. It takes 3 corrosive bows to kill them. No, 2 leaves them very low. So the Cyclones are still working through. So that's why I give it like a 50-50 here. That GuMiho both, 1, wanted to go Battlecruisers to end it, and 2, wasn't sure if he was ahead. Or like too far ahead. I think a bit of both. Por qué no los dos? He's got Hyper She's on the way. He's let Dark survive though. And Dark has money in the bank. The Thors coming up, Corrosive Bow. Vipers, Blinding Cloud. Get over here. Thor couldn't even turn around. 3 Battlecruisers in production. Four. He's just freeing up supply. Nah, I probably shouldn't be giving up Thors. He throws it out. And the Hellbat, wave of corrosive bows across the board. The Swarm Host still going to work. 4 Battlecruisers. He doesn't have Yamato Cannon in production. He's still going Hyper Shees. Does he have any Banshees out? He's still got... Well, we just saw that one Banshee on the screen. Come on, with. There are 7 Corruptors on the way. I think Dark wants to go Broodlord. He already got the Greater Spire, right? Yes. So he's thinking Broodlords here. But GuMiho is thinking, well, there aren't too many direct counters to Mass Battlecruiser. Even Corruptors struggle. And these Corruptors, I don't think... anti-armor missile going to make everyone self-conscious there. Another Hell Clone group going to work. Oh, Jimmy. Now is not the time for raving. Except about Battlecruisers. And they are revealed. A very convenient timing here, though, as Dark was already building Wait, did he see him? He's not building any broods. Well, now he sees him. 1 Battlecruiser. Where's the Yamato? Kind of a big oversight here, not to have Yamato Cannon when you already have 4 Battlecruisers. A whole bunch more Corruptors on the way. The anti-air is... Oh, he's got 15 Corruptors on the way. GuMiho has had control of this game for quite a while, but Dark still has money in the bank. It's essentially the momentum is in tech, where Dark still has money, but he hasn't really been able to fill his composition in the way he wants to deal directly with what GuMiho has. And it's very hard as Zerg to, when you're already in a tough position, switch into an army you need. Ideally, you have the army, you lose some of it, he jumps across to join up. The tactical jump, every unit gets away. Yamato Cannon starts. Yeah, GuMiho realizes it's a bit late as the fight is already joined, but there's an anti-armor missile on the ground. And if he wins the fight on the ground, the fight on the air doesn't really matter. Blinding Clouds, though. The Cyclones can still lock on. They're chasing down the Battlecruisers. Hellbats and a Thor. Eventually going to be cleaned up by the Ravagers. The Cyclones helping out a lot against the Corruptors. 2 Battlecruisers survive the engagement. More Cyclones up towards the front. And Dark is driving him back yet again. And did Dark actually turn this around? Look at the money in the bank. GuMiho biting off way more than he could chew here. The problem at the end of the day is Dark doesn't have... He has 1 base. Whereas GuMiho has 2, 3 fresh ones. The income is even. There's the Infestors. There's the Neural Parasite. I keep asking if it's too little and too late, but the game keeps going, so apparently not. And 1 good round of Neural Parasite could have the same or even greater effect than the reveal of those Battlecruisers. As, of course, they could be turned against him, but the mass clone, the attack of the Hell Clones, will continue. 5 Infestors on the way for Dark. The last option here. The Infestors pop out. He doesn't have Neural done, but Fungal to hold him in place. Goes long range with the Fungal, will chase it down. Some tanks on the back line. Yamato Cannon 10 seconds out. How many Battlecruisers? 7 Battlecruisers on the field. The siege tanks moving forward. Just pounded the point home. The Battlecruisers are not even getting involved yet. There's some Broodlords on the back line. He's hidden his commitment to the cruisers. There's only 9 Corruptors left. There's not enough anti-air. He's waiting for the Broodlords. And now Dark doesn't have a counter. A single volley of Yamato Cannon. Corrosive Bile is good, but the Yamato Cannons are better. JJ GuMiho takes it 3-1, and he does it the same way. He holds on to the cruisers until they are the killing blow. And again, the Admiral is able to chart a course to victory against Dark. Dark making it one of the most exciting series I've ever seen. Possibly one of the most fun. Like, we started out with like a 7-minute around the world drone rush into mass ultralists and we ended with Battlecruiser. What more do you want? That's a real question. That's not rhetorical. You made it this far. Thank you for watching. I hope it made your day a little bit better. It better have. Otherwise, why are you still here? Thank you again. Good luck and have fun. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. And if you haven't yet, the second channel for more content. If you got some more hours in the day you want to spend, I'm not here to judge. But I am here every day. If you want another cast, check out Recommended as well. And yeah, that's the whole spiel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.